Hey guys, what's up? Now we're here back in a video. So today I'm going to be going over my first tier list for Troublesome Battlegrounds 2. Now you may be like, what? You've done two tier lists in the past. True, but they weren't really my own tier list. They were the community's tier list that I just kind of took the opinions and I just put it on a tier list. But so it wasn't really my opinion. But this is my first tier list with opinions, my own opinions. This one is going to be Troublesome Battlegrounds 2 Awakening because I haven't played every character yet, so I don't really have a good feel for all the characters in the game. But I do have a decent feel for all the awakenings in the game. I haven't uploaded a video on Giorno yet, but I still have a good feeling, so I just wanted to get this out because I just didn't feel like recording a video for Giorno, but I wanted to get a tier list out. So if you do enjoy, like, sub, and hit that bell. And without any further ado, let's go into the video. Okay, so for starters, we have Cars. I would say Cars is a solid B tier for Awakening. Now, his barrage is like a super upgrade. It's a really good barrage. It doesn't block break like Diabolos and Dios, which is a ton of pressure, but Cars has a ton of range and it has decent speed. So I would say really decent. His projectiles have super projectile delay. His guard break is extremely fast and has a decent hitbox. And Squirrel just has a ton of pressure because you can't just block it since it will sometimes um, go behind your block. So just a really, and he has an evasive as well. His only really bad move, I wouldn't even say bad because it does a ton of damage, but his only meh move is the Hamon thing. But that's just because the startup is weird and you can cancel it easily. It's a okay move. So I would say B tier. He only just struggles with like applying a ton of pressure. Like you'll get like a little bit of damage up here and there, but he doesn't really have a lot of combos. Now, moving on to the second character, Kira. I would say Kira's is probably the best awakening in the game. For starters, he has a barrage, whatever, but he also has first bomb, which I think is a really good move. It applies a ton of pressure, forces your opponent to not block. If they try to block, then they're dead. But you shouldn't even be trying to block against Kira for another reason. Tracing steps is a grab that bypasses that combo extends, so you shouldn't be blocking. You should be running. His 4 is a unp-blockable guard break that tracks, so you shouldn't be blocking. You should be running. And Bites the Dust has a ton of range, so you can't really control it. You can't even cancel it currently at its state. You can only really grab to cancel it. You can't time stop to cancel it. I'm not even sure if time erasure can't gets like invincibility to Bites the Dust, but it's just a really good, and he has an evasive. Like it's insane. Like you try to fight him, you're gonna get bodied. Like he's a ridiculously OP awakening. Very strong. All right, now Dio. I would say Dio's is with the HP he used to get. I would say A tier, but after it, I almost want to say B tier. And if that's the case, I would say Cars is C tier because Dio's awakening is like super duper good. Like his awakening, I would say A tier, B tier, because his awakening barrage guard breaks. His 2 is extremely fast now. It's like pre-nerf, but it's blockable. But it's just extremely hard to react, like almost impossible to react to. You almost have to guess. His knives are always great because they do a ton of damage, and Road Roller is P blockable. But I mean, like if you're trying to predict the time punch thing or whatever, you're not gonna have enough time to PB the road rolling. You might not even have enough time to avoid it. His time stop is a guaranteed 100 to 0, and life drain gives a ton of HP and does a ton of damage. So I would say A tier, and maybe even you could convince me to be say S tier with the HP he used to get, but now I would say A tier, below A tier. Um, third character we have, or fourth character we have Diabolo. I would say Diabolo's is better than Cars, but like definitely not better than Dio's. His 5 is pretty easy to escape. Like I'm not even sure what Goat did to it, but it's just really easy to avoid now. Even if you can do it a bunch of times, it's like, bro, I can avoid this easily. You have to be extremely lucky to be able to get a combo off of it. His uh impale, it like has way too much startup, so like any relatively fast reacting opponent can just block it easily. His 2 has meh range, so it's likely not going to connect, and the hitbox isn't really wide, so easy to avoid. His barrage does guard break and it combo extends, but I mean, it's like most people just stay mid range against Diablo. They don't really try to press him because he has a counter and an evasive. But I would say, yeah, it's good, but I mean, like, he doesn't really have a ton of pressure because the pressure he has just isn't good. So that's why I would say B tier. Um, and I really feel like Awakenings, it really comes down to pressure because if you can't pressure someone with your Awakening, then you're not going to get a lot of momentum, and that's the whole point of Awakenings. You may be lollygagging behind your opponent, and then you come back because you have a ton of pressure with your Awakening, and you can get like 1 or 2 stocks off easily. Um, Polnareff's Awakening, I would say probably C tier, just because like, well, for starters, Silver Shade Requiem is so easy to cancel now. I already don't like his Thrust because it's really easy to PB, and in Awakening it's easy to PB. His 3 is just worse Thrust. It basically, it doesn't have the same startup. It has a shorter startup, but it's easy to block. He has no combo extenders now. Stand Leap has the same problem as Impale. If you have a fast reaction time, you're able to block it. And his Barrage is alright, but I mean, like, it doesn't combo extend, it doesn't block break, so I mean, it's really okay. And he doesn't even have an X in Awakening. So I would say C tier. Doesn't have an evasive, doesn't have a ton of pressure, it's easy to punish his pressure, and it's easy to avoid it. Moving on to the second to last character, we have Josuke. Now, Josuke's, like, I really like Josuke's. I feel like it's better than Cars because it just applies way more pressure. His 3 is a tracking projectile that is blockable, which forces the opponent to block, but then you're able to catch up to them a little bit easier. And since Awakenings all have boosted speed now, you can actually apply pressure, get M1s easier, get your 2 off easier, so people can't just run as easily as before from Josuke. He does have some decent combos, like you can do 4M1s, barrage into what's it called, tracing or tracking shards into a pull punch or whatever. So it like that's just a ton of damage right there, and you can even combo extend with or combo start with pull. It's just kind of hard to get off, but I would say he just has a little bit more pressure. Like people have to are forced to run, they can't do anything, and he can even catch runners with his 3 and pull if he gets it off. But I mean, he just struggles with like runners a little bit. Like his pressure is okay, but it's just not as good as Cars or even DL, like or Kira's or Cars or even Diablo's. And the final awakening in the game that I'm placing is Giorno's. I want to say it's like a better version of Josuke's because of the fact that, well, his punch is a stun, combo extends, combo starts, it's unblockable, unp blockable now. So it's just that it's like that's already like a way better version of Josuke's punch and awakening. And his grab does like 50-40 damage, and you can follow up with your projectile afterwards. So you can do 4-on-1s, punch, 4-on-1s, grab, and that's basically 80 of their HP followed up with your laser. And if that connects, it's almost 100 HP gone. Return to 0 gets out of time stop or any bad thing that you're in, and heals you. And yeah, and his projectile has like extremely low cooldown. So I would say he is just really great. I would say better than Josuke's. It's similar in pressure, but like it's just a little bit better because you're getting more out of it. It's just struggles with pressure. Just run from it, and he can't really do much besides spam his projectile, which is something he can do better than Josuke. But it's just not on the same level as Cars, Dio, or even Diablo. So that is my tier list. I guess I'll do a TLDR. Kira, ton of pressure, ton of damage. Only counterplay is to run, and you can't even do that with his moves that well. Dio only counterplay is to run. He has a 100 to 0 and Awakening, and a lot of his moves are hard to react to or guard break. Diabolo can catch people with 5, and it can be used multiple times, but struggles with pressure because that's easy to avoid. Impale's easy to block. 2 is hard to get offs, and yeah, but he does have a counter and evasive, so that does put him almost at A tier. Almost at A tier. But I feel like he just doesn't have that same amount of pressure as Dio. Giorno's is really good because he has heals, but his life punch is good because it combo extends and bypasses his block or whatever. But he just struggles with pressure because people can just run. At least he has his projectile to spam, which is one more thing Josuke has that he has over Josuke. Josuke is basically the same thing, but Giorno has more pressure because of his projectile. Cars just he doesn't have like horrible pressure, like not as bad as Polnareff's, but like because of Squirrel and his projectiles, but like he just doesn't really have that much combos going for him, and he just doesn't have as good pressure as the top tiers for Awakenings. And the last one, Polnareff, it's just a matter of the fact that Polnareff just is easy to counter. Block his PB his thrust, which isn't hard because the startup is long. PB his after image strike or whatever, really easy. His stand leap is really easy to block because the startup is long. Silver Chariot, just punch him or roll backwards and be ready to mash after he does whatever he tries to do to you if you get caught in it. And his only really good move is his barrage because of the width it covers, but I mean it's just a barrage. So, and that is my tier list. If you have any disagreements or just want to say your opinion, please feel free to put it in the comment section below, and don't forget to like, sub, and hit the bell. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.